basically, Patrick is like really depressed, and then when he gets to school, Charlie tries to talk to him, and he's like, "No, Charlie, not right now. It's not a good time." Um, and then it goes to a scene in the cafeteria where Charlie's just sitting by himself, like he has been for the past 2 weeks, and Patrick is walking by. He walks by Brad's table, and one of Brad's friends trips him and makes him spill all this food everywhere. So he gets up, goes up to Brad, and says, "Are you gonna do something about this? About your goon right here?" And he says, "Dude, I don't know what your fixation on me is." And then he threatens to tell, and then Patrick threatens to tell everybody how he really got those bruises. And this is like the main insult, the real thing that broke up Brad and Patrick, because Brad stands up, gets in his face, and says, "I don't know who you think you are, but you need to get out of here right now." Nothing. He calls him nothing. The insult that everybody still uses, but Brad has never said it until this time. And he says, "Say hi to your dad for me." You know, because just between them, they know what it means. And where Brad should have stopped talking is when he said, "Whatever, faggot." And I'm not paraphrasing or anything, that's exactly what he says. "Whatever, faggot." And so Patrick flips out. He attacks him, gets him on the ground, basically starts slapping him because, you know, he's gay. He's not punching him. I'm not saying that as like a gay slur. I'm just saying, you know, he is like extremely, extremely homo. If you watch the movie, you'll understand. He's not the kind of guy to just downright punch somebody. So his friends pull him off of Brad and start beating him up. And Sam tries to interject, and they just push her to the ground. And her friends are holding her back because there's really nothing she can do. So, and then Charlie comes into the scene. He walks up, and you see him raise his arm back to punch, and then it just blacks out. And when it comes back, when it stops being black, you see Brad and his friends are all on the ground. They've been beat pretty bad. Patrick is on the ground. Charlie has bruised knuckles. So he picks Brad up, he gets his hand and he helps him stand up, holds him up because he can barely stand, and looks at Brad and says, "Touch my friends again and I'll blind you." Like, that's exactly what he says. "Touch my friends again and I'll blind you." So then it cuts to he is in the principal's office. Brad is in the principal's office, and Charlie's waiting to see the principal. And when Brad comes out, he says, "Hey, Charlie, thanks for stopping them." So you can tell that Brad still cares about Patrick. He knows that it's over, but he still cares. After that, he makes up with Sam because she's really grateful for what he did. All of them start hanging out again. Mary Elizabeth has a new boyfriend, so she's okay with him. And it's like Patrick and Charlie start hanging out a lot because of the fact that Mary Elizabeth and her boyfriend and Sam and Craig are off together quite a bit. So Patrick and Charlie hang out a lot, and he's always really depressed. And he actually kisses him the first night that they hang out, but he knows it's a mistake, and I don't think he does it after that. But what Charlie says exactly is he always starts off the night with a lot of energy, but eventually he runs out of things to numb himself with. So like he's got a lot of pain inside. And then Sam gets a letter from Penn State, and it basically changes the entire story from then on, because she opens the letter and it says that she got accepted, and she's crying. She's so happy. She gets to go to the dream college, and all they talk about anymore is what they're going to do after high school and how they're all so happy because they're moving on with their lives. And Patrick no longer is like depressed anymore. He goes to Washington U because he wants to be near the music, I think is what he said, something like that. So he's going to be right near, you know, Sam. They're going to be together still for college. Charlie's kind of sad because he doesn't get to go with them, and they have a goodbye party for Sam in particular. It's mostly for Sam, and of course it's after graduation, and the school, Charlie is done with his first year of high school. Sam and them are done with their last year of high school. So they're having this party, but it's mainly a send-off for Sam. And Charlie wants her to have like a piece of him. So he gives Sam all of the books that he's gotten from Mr. Anderson. I think that's his name. I could be wrong. I can't remember. He's awesome though. But he gives Sam all of his books, and she's just touched. And so after the party's basically over, he's in Sam's room helping her pack her things, and they start talking, and she's like, why do the people why do I and the people I love pick people that treat us like we're nothing? And then this is like a main point earlier in the movie. I don't know if I talked about it, but he got this advice from the teacher that gives him all the books, and he said the exact same thing to Sam. We accept the love we think we deserve. And so she asks him, why didn't you ever ask me out? And he says, I didn't think that's what you wanted. And she's like, no, you need to stop worrying about other people and do what you want. And so I'm going to try my best to quote him exactly. He says something like, because she says, I want people to like the real me. And he says, I know who you are, Sam. I know I'm quiet. I should talk more and participate. But, yeah, I can't quote him exactly. He says that he should talk more, he should participate, he knows who she is, and he doesn't think that she's average, she's beautiful. And then they start kissing, and this is where things kind of get serious, because they realize that they really are, they love each other. And he spends the night, he has kind of a hallucination of something that happened to him in childhood with his Aunt Helen, and that's kind of where you find out that maybe it wasn't his Aunt Helen who got molested, it was him. And so he has this kind of flashback, but everything's normal, he just ignores it, and he spends the night with Sam. It's not really said exactly what happened, but I have my suspicions. So the next morning, Sam and Patrick are getting in the car. Charlie and Sam have a goodbye kiss, you know, a really good one, and basically they're off. And Charlie walks home and he's kind of freaking out. He's hallucinating really bad. He gets home and he's crying and he's hallucinating about his Aunt Helen. And this is where you find out that she really did molest him, and it really messed up his life. So he calls his sister and he says, I killed Aunt Helen, didn't I? It's like she was getting my birthday present when she died, so that means I killed her, right? And then he goes off, and right before he ends the call, he says, what if I wanted her to die, Candace, which is his sister? And she's freaking out. She got one of her friends to call 911 and send them to the house. She's like, Charlie, Charlie. And so he starts wandering through the house. He ends up in the kitchen. There's some other flashbacks that explain some things, and he sees a knife and he goes for it. And then the cops break in and it just turns to black. And again, when it stops being black, he's in a psychiatric ward. Not like a serious one, it's just like a mental hospital it's not really a psychiatric ward, it's more like a psychiatrist place. It's a room where he can stay and get the help he needs, but he's not like in prison. Basically, his parents are keeping him there. And he starts talking to the psychologist, and she asks him about his Aunt Helen, because apparently he was talking in his sleep, and he's very hesitant to do it at first, and then when he finally opens up to her, he says, she was insane. That's all I'm saying. And then, of course, you know, he does say more. She drops the subject for now, but then she asks him about what he remembers, and he basically spends the majority of the summer inside the room. I can't remember the name of the hospital. It's like a big point because it's where he was the previous summer. He just wasn't in for the same thing. Or I guess he sort of was. He just wasn't in the way he was in now. So he answers her questions, and after a couple weeks, the psychiatrist tells his parents exactly what happened to him when he was a kid, and they have a whole new sympathy for their son. And so Sam, while he's in the hospital, she sends him back all of the books that he gave her, because it's like, oh, now I have a definite reason to come back. I want you to have these while you're going through this hard time, just so you know that I'm thinking about you and that you're going to get better. Don't worry, I will come back to get these. You know, and it's just like, it's a really heartwarming thing. And before the movie's over, Um, they are he's finally able to go home, and then all of a sudden Patrick and Sam show up at his door, and they're like, "Can Charlie come out and play?" And so they get in the truck, they go to King's, and then they start talking about what it's like outside of high school, and they're all just like, buddying around. And then Sam's like, "My roommate has the best tasting music. I found the Tunnel song." Now, I'm pretty sure I explained this, but of course, when they first met, they went through this tunnel and they heard this song on the radio that they had no idea what it was or who it was by. So, a lot of the movie is dedicated to finding that song, and at the end of the movie she finally finds it. So they go back through the tunnel, and it ends with this really heartwarming thing where Charlie has this kind of resolve. He knows who he is. He knows where he knows where he comes from. Is not the best, but he knows that he can make his life better, like Sam did. And they kiss, and then it's just like it just ends with them coming out of the tunnel into the nighttime, and they're all just like yelling. They're happy. They love life. Things like that. And that's basically where the movie ends. And then it ends with just the credits rolling with the song that they found that playing.